So Matthew's here with the business. We're trying to sound optimistic, but we're going to start with some disappointing news on the French economy, aren't we?
Yes, that's right. Some figures out just in the last few minutes confirming what had been expected, that the French economy failed to grow at all in the first quarter of this year. In fact, it shrank by 0.2%. That was actually slightly more than had been expected. And what that also means is that combined with the similar contraction in the fourth quarter of last year, France is now technically back in recession. 2 quarters of negative growth means you're back in recession.
Not really the best day for the French president to be defending his economic record then, is it?
No, probably not the best day. And that's, of course, what he will be doing when he's in Brussels later this Wednesday, meeting all 27 of the European commissioners there and talking about the pace of reforms here in France to try and get the economy moving again. Well, those figures likely to add further pressure to him. And the European Commission has already been saying that it wants to see quite a few changes in the French economy that it thinks should happen. Those include, for example, pension reform, where the French government has already started making some proposals on that, as well as that changes to the labour market, more flexibility, bringing down the cost of labour, something they want to see, and also increasing competition as well in some public services and certain other pretty regulated professions as well. So Francois Hollande will have quite a lot to talk about with those commissioners later this Wednesday. A
little bit better across the pond, though. In the US, President Obama, he's had some good news, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. Francois Hollande would probably like to have something like this. And after all those months we talked about of late-night wrangling over budgets, it seems like the deficit in the US is falling pretty sharply. The Congressional Budget Office there giving its forecast for what the figure will be for 2013, and it says that that will be about $642 billion. Now, that's a big drop, as you can see there, on the 2012 figure of $1.1 trillion, bringing that GDP as a proportion, or rather the deficit as a proportion of GDP, down to around 4% for this year.
Yeah, I'm sure Francois Hollande would dream of those figures. What about the markets then? How are they looking today?
Yes, let's take a look at the Asian markets, which are all, of course, trading now. The Nikkei in particular up over 2% there. The weaker yen helping to push stocks up in Japan.
Staying in Asia, tension between China and Europe is on the rise.
Yes, it certainly is. That's after the European Commission announced those plans last week to slap duties on Chinese-made solar panels. Now, the Commission saying that Chinese firms are receiving illegal subsidies. Well, France 24's correspondent in China has been to a trade show in Shanghai to gauge the mood there. Duncan Hewitt reports.
The mascots are still smiling, but for the exhibitors, it's a struggle for survival. China's solar panel makers, like Suntech, which has declared partial bankruptcy, are trying to save what they can. The industry is already facing a global crisis. Now the threats of European import tariffs are on everyone's lips.
In my opinion, I think that's a really foolish things, stupid issues. They're really afraid of the Chinese product because honestly, we offer better qualities and low cost.
China's solar sector may have wiped out its Western competitors, but it's plagued by overproduction. If Europe confirms the new tariffs, many manufacturers may be turning off the lights. At present, the battle's being fought in the arena of communication. The Chinese government's on the offensive. Its key argument, the collapse of China's solar sector, could drag Europe down too.
Any trade war will have disastrous consequences for our mutual development. Many European companies are now involved in the Chinese market, suppliers of advanced technology and raw materials. So sanctions against China may also have a negative impact on European businesses.
That's certainly the case for German companies, major exporters of solar technology to China. It's one of the reasons Berlin wants a negotiated solution, even if that means distancing itself from the European Commission.
And Duncan Hewitt reporting there. Well, we'll stay with tensions between China and Europe in the company news. Sanctions could be slapped on telecoms equipment makers Huawei and ZTE. The European Commission will send a formal warning over illegal state subsidies, or both of those companies deny receiving the handouts.
Boeing has restarted deliveries of its 787 Dreamliner jet. Orders were put on hold in January after concerns over the aircraft's battery system. Japan's All Nippon Airways took possession of a jet on Tuesday. The company expects to hit its target of delivering 60 of the planes this year.
And at least 3 oil companies are under investigation by the European Union. BP, Shell and Norway's Statoil have all confirmed they are part of the inquiry. The European Commission said that the allegations relate to possible price fixing.
Now then, if you live here in France, you will know that most shops stay closed on a Sunday, and not everyone is happy about that. But it's not just retailers who want to see more flexible opening hours. Some shop workers are also calling for things to change. Stephen Carroll reports.
Banging paint pots, these hardware shop workers aren't protesting against job cuts or an increased workload. Instead, they're demanding the right to work more. They've collected hundreds of signatures calling for their employer to be allowed open on Sundays. Many of them work part-time and get double pay to come in on a Sunday.
I need to pay for my studies and my rent, and if I work on Sundays, that's possible.
I have a permanent job, but I'm a single mother, so I need the Sundays.
French law bans almost all Sunday trading. There are exceptions for businesses in industrial areas as well as big furniture shops and garden centres, but not for hardware stores. This branch has secured a special exemption to open. Its manager says 7-day trading is crucial to the business.
Sunday accounts for 20% of our takings, 25% in some shops. It's the first or second most important day of the week after Saturday. If we closed on Sunday, it would be catastrophic.
This campaign is almost entirely centred on Paris, though. In smaller towns and cities, the majority of workers oppose Sunday opening.
In Paris, there isn't really a difference between Sunday and any other day, but here we have a life. We can do things like go to the beach with the whole family.
It is a law that's being eroded over time. In 2011, almost 1/3 of employees in France worked on a Sunday.
I'm amazed by that. It's very un-French, isn't it?
All those people demanding to work more.
I think they were paid to take part in the demonstration. Anyway, talking of shops, those small coins, really little ones, that you often end up getting in your change, stuck in your pockets, they could be a thing of the past. And we like this story. Here it is, just because of what Matthew's written on the screen.
Yeah, well,
it's very good.
Well, those coins, of course, are called cents. They tend to be called centimes here in France, but the small unit of the euro, and as you say, Stuart, they're very small. They get stuck in your pockets or bags or here and there, back of the sofa, all over the place. Well, it's not just people that get annoyed with them. The European Commission says that it's getting a bit tired of them as well. It released this report saying that one of the big problems is it actually costs much more to make them, as you can see them being made here, than it does than their true value. In fact, 4 times as much, costing around 1.4 billion euros in total. And really, it would like to see the 1 and 2 cent pieces got away with. But there's a problem with doing that, which is that you might get inflation, because if you got rid of those, shops would probably start to round up those prices to around 5 cents or 5 centimes, and we'd start to feel that inflationary effect, see that coming through, and we don't really need that. It was just seen in all those economic figures. So probably, for the time being, those very small coins are here to stay.
They might round them down.
Oh, Stuart, such an optimist.
Perhaps not. Matthew Warren with the Business on France 5. The latest news after the weather. Claire will be here. Stay with us.